In this video, I will become the most efficient MMORPG player of all time, and all it costs is a small shred of my sanity. This video was made in partnership with Overclockers UK, because without them it literally could not have been made.
I'm here at Overclockers HQ, because apparently they've got a surprise for me.
I love MMORPG games, massive virtual worlds you can get lost in for thousands of hours, adventure, intrigue, questionable RP in an early game tavern. They have it all. Back in my youth, I would spend hours every day playing different games, reaching the end game, leading groups, hunting the rarest drops, but then something happened. I turned 30, and I have other responsibilities now. I just can't put the time into MMO games like I used to. And that made me sad. Hello, I'm Josh Hayes. I review MMORPG games as a job here on YouTube. The main problem with doing this is most people don't play MMOs because they aren't very casual friendly. In most of them, playing for 2 to 3 hours on the weekend won't really get you anywhere. You need hundreds or even thousands of hours in any given MMO to see all the things they have to offer, or to appease the deeply enfranchised hardcore player base if you speak on any aspect of their game. This is a problem for MMO content creators like me, because it means you kind of need to choose one game and get really good at it, which would give you hyper-specific knowledge of that game, but it would lessen your overall knowledge of the genre as a whole, making cross-referencing more difficult. And a damned if you do and damned if you don't. Ultimately, our gaming time is limited. Even if I could find hundreds of hours a month to play like I could in my youth, I'd still have to choose one game to spend it in. I mean, you can't really make progress in multiple MMOs at the same time, can you? What if there was a way to play many MMORPG games at the same time and advance in all of them on the same computer? MMORPGs are resource-intensive games. Could a PC even do this? Could a graphics card handle all the different games? Would a CPU allow it? Could the hard drive transfer data fast enough if all the games were installed in the same directory? To find out, I've teamed up with Overclockers UK, a bunch of nerds who specialize in building a variety of custom PCs. And they set about building me a computer capable of playing as many MMORPGs at the same time as possible, while also running the recording software to screen capture the entire thing. No second recording rig here. And when they'd built it, they invited me to their headquarters, gave me a tour of the workshop, and revealed the beast of a rig they'd put together for this challenge. So this is my journey to see how many MMO games I can play at the same time before this PC crashes. Let's start by taking a look at what's actually inside this stunning curved glass case.
I'm Josh Hayes, and I'm here at Overclockers HQ.
And I'm Jacob, the Partnerships Manager for Overclockers. So this is Josh's new PC that we've worked with Josh on to amplify his gaming. This is a 5090 system, 32 gigabytes of VRAM. It's also got the AMD 9950X3D as well as the CPU, the highest spec CPU on the market. 2 SSDs, I think you've got about 3 terabytes of storage in there. You've got 64 gigs, so it's 2 sticks of 32. Rather than, back in the day, you'd have like 4 8s, for example.
When you say back in the day, that's what I've got now.
Okay.
It's not back in the day, that's back at my house.
That's present day for you.
That's what I'm using. So I'm going to go through some of the video games that I've played before.
Yeah.
You tell me if this can play it.
Okay, yeah.
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yes.
Old school RuneScape.
Definitely.
That was pretty much all I needed to know. That
was easy.
No,
and this fish tank aesthetic is super popular in a minute because you can see so much of your PC.
Now the pressure's on me to see what this PC can do.
Yeah, that's my hope.
Beautiful. This looks fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
To build me one hell of a system.
And so, armed with nothing more than a dream, a can-do attitude, and an incredibly powerful gaming PC, I started the test with the standard benchmark of all good gaming systems, something which would really push it to its limits. Can it play old school RuneScape in a window? Oh yeah. Now we're gaming. Yes, it could. In fact, I had the system resource monitor open for these tests, and I don't think the PC even knew I'd opened a game. So let's step it up. Guild Wars 2, one of my favourite MMORPGs. Now, many of the games I'll be using on this test I've played before, but I'll be making new characters in most of them for 2 reasons. The first is games usually open with cinematics or set pieces which are somewhat graphically intensive, so I want to use those bits. And the second reason is I've forgotten my login details for most of these games, and I didn't write them down anywhere. Guild Wars 2 runs fine. But now the true test. Old school RuneScape and Guild Wars 2 at the same time. My God, it can do it. But it's important to note, I don't just want the programs both running at the same time. I want them both active at the same time. This isn't a case of minimizing one and then maximizing the other, holding some processes in the background. I want all games visible and playable at all times. 2 games was fine, so time to download the Elder Scrolls Online, which not only needs the initial download, but then over a 100GB patch. In fact, by the end of this video, I have installed over 1 terabyte of MMORPG games. Elder Scrolls Online downloads, make a new character, runs fine as expected, so let's change it to windowed, resize, and get old school RuneScape and Guild Wars 2 running at the same time. No problems so far, let's keep going. Final Fantasy XIV, new character, Catboy of course, runs full screen no problem, so into windowed mode you go, resize and join the other 3, and boom, old school RuneScape, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online and Final Fantasy XIV all running on 1 monitor, each resized to a quarter of the screen. But here I faced 2 problems. The first was how I don't want the games running, I want them to be actually playable. So while I could just open 20 windows and overlap them all at the same time, that's not realistic to actually play them. So for now, I realized that having each game take up a quarter of one of my 2560 by 1440 monitors meant each window would need to be resized to 1280 by 720, which was the smallest most games had the ability to natively go and still remain playable because of all the UI needed. This means I could fit 4 games on 1 monitor, so to run more games, I'd need more monitors. Thankfully, I have 2 monitors, so we can keep going. The next issue was the most annoying one though, and ultimately what changed this video from fun to insane. While I could have these games running at the same time, which was very impressive, I still needed to click between them to control them, and while playing one, the other 3 were just doing nothing. This is multitasking, sure, but it's not efficient. I'm still only making progress on 1 game at a time. I needed to know when I'm focusing on 1 game, the others are still making progress. So now comes the real challenge. I need to find a way to be gaining experience in all the games running at the same time. My ultimate MMO efficiency challenge would only be won if I can sit back and see all the games actually progressing. So I chose the most common shared skill in all of MMORPGs, the skill of fishing. So many video games have fishing minigames. There's a brilliant video by Adam Millard, the architect of games, all about why fishing minigames are so popular, but for our MMO challenge, fishing is perfect. It's the ultimate click and wait skill. Take RuneScape. Click to fish, wait, make progress while waiting. So my theory is, if I can fish in every game I'm running at the same time, I'm being efficient. I didn't know when I decided to do this how complex this would actually be to set up. But 4 games isn't enough. The PC is just getting started. Let's call this group of 4 games Group A. We know Group A works fine, so let's download some more. World of Warcraft. Full screen runs fine. Resize the window to 1280, runs fine. Actually one of the better UIs at this small scale. Because World of Warcraft was optimized to run on lower specs systems for many years, it doesn't take up many resources at all. It is a remarkably efficient game. Next up, New World, Amazon's attempt to break into the MMORPG space and one of the most hilariously broken launches of all time. I have a whole video discussing the issues found in the game, including the in-game chat box not being sanitized server-side and allowing players to run basic arbitrary code on others' local machines by hijacking an item link. Wonderfully broken stuff. New World also launches in uncapped FPS, so the graphics card jumps up to 45% just to prove it can do stuff, but I changed the settings a bit, capping it at 60, and we're back down to 18% use. The 5090 is a powerhouse. New World and Warcraft running at the same time, no problem. Next up, Albion Online. The top-down gathering crafting PvP Kickstarter success story. Runs fine, not a very intensive game. Throw it together with WoW and New World, everything looking good so far. Next up, Lord of the Rings Online. One of the older but cozier MMOs still running today. It's showing its age, but I like this game. Oddly, this one actually struggles to play in maxed graphics windowed mode. I don't think it knows what to do with all the power, and actually runs and scales better when reduced to a smaller window. I know I'll face a few bottlenecks in this challenge, the CPU power and the cores available to me, the graphics card and its available VRAM, the actual RAM, and the hard drive read speed of all these programs, but I never considered if Steam had a limit on how many games you can have open, or what happens if one game clashes with another, which we will see later on, or the anti-cheat software from one MMO seeing the other games as cheat programs. My solution to this is just kind of keep going and hope for the best. World of Warcraft, New World, Albion Online, and Lord of the Rings Online all running at the same time, resized to 1280 each. This is Game Group B. So now, can I load up Group A, the first 4 games, and Group B together? I record both my monitors doing this, and I rearrange the games to fit, and yes, we are now at 8 MMORPG games all running at the same time, and the PC is showing no issues at all. The games all running together also means the audio from all games is running at the same time. In case you're wondering, it sounds like this. Honestly, I did not expect we'd get this far, but we have. This means we've hit a bit of a hardware limitation, and it's nothing to do with the PC, it's to do with my monitors. I still want to be able to realistically play these MMORPG games, and each game taking up a quarter of a monitor is just about still feasible to play. The only way we could test this further is if the 5090 graphics card could host more than 2 monitors, and if I had more than 2 monitors. Thankfully, it can. And I do. The third monitor is only 1920 by 1080. Now normally that's fine for most things, but if I need to run 4 games on this, each taking up a quarter of the screen, this means reducing those game windows to a resolution of 960 by 560 each. And some games just can't go that low. So this third monitor can only hold games which can run at lower resolutions. Thankfully, games like RuneScape can, so that's 1 found, just need to find 3 more. How about Adventure Quest Worlds, the first foray of the Adventure Quest franchise into the MMO space? Yeah, this runs fine. I mean, it's an old Flash game, and Flash died a while ago, so you need to download the Artix Games Launcher, but it's still surprisingly active. I guess this is the first game in Group C. How about Star Wars: The Old Republic next, an MMORPG with multiple detailed and fleshed out solo stories based around which class you play. I really like this game. Another one showing its age, but worth playing for the narrative alone. Now Dungeons & Dragons Online, an MMORPG with a really interesting reincarnation system, where you can restart your high-level character back at level 1 and gain a small permanent stacking buff, allowing you to play through the newer level content. I love this system, because it keeps every part of the game relevant and lets them add low, mid, and high-level content often. It also means starting the game again to play with your new friends is fine. It's an underrated MMORPG and it runs fine, but it does have one major issue. Both Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons & Dragons Online are run by Standing Stone Games, and both of them for some reason use the same email verification system, meaning if you sign up for one game, you cannot use that same email to sign up for the other. This is a legacy problem. Basically, you need 2 emails if you want to play both these games. Now for Path of Exile 2. Is it an MMORPG? Probably, who knows. But our first most interesting moment is Path of Exile 2 is a resource hog and actually jumps the graphics card to 100% use on launch. Now it's a gorgeous looking game, and running it at 240 frames per second on max graphics is a transcendent experience, but Path of Exile 2 needs to learn to share, so I reduce some settings and resize the window, and it drops to a much more acceptable resource usage level. This means Group C games are all running at once: Adventure Quest Worlds, Star Wars: The Old Republic, Dungeons & Dragons Online, and Path of Exile 2. I can tell Path of Exile 2 is seething it can't use more graphics card, and I think Adventure Quest Worlds is just happy to be here, so Group C runs fine. As before though, does sound a bit chaotic. This means with 4 games per group and groups A, B and C, we have 12 MMORPG games from lightweight to resource heavy, and again, if we want to run 4 games per monitor, we've just hit a hardware limitation. Nothing to do with overclockers, I just don't have 4 monitors. The only way I could run more than 12 games is if I had a 4th monitor. So I bought a 4th monitor, let's keep going. Next up, Neverwinter, one of my favourite action MMORPGs and where this YouTube channel actually started.
We've got a fantastic team all working together. There's the attack, and what's going to happen this time? Portals have spawned. Excellent. Lets me show you something new.
I used to make guides on how to solo bosses as the Hunter Ranger class, and I refuse to remove those old videos because it's nice to look back and remember where you came from. Neverwinter runs fine. How about RuneScape 3, the forgotten stepchild of the RuneScape franchise, which is actually the main game, but I think we all agree by now it isn't. RuneScape runs on a suitably powerful potato, so no resource worries here. Let's throw in some EverQuest 2 for good measure. I like EverQuest 2. It's a nice middle ground between the old-school complexity of past MMOs like EverQuest and the newer quality of life and graphical updates that the modern genre has brought. I think it's another underrated MMORPG, way easier to get into than its predecessor with almost as much depth. And let's show some respect to the greats with Wizard 101, a third-person adventure game which uses a turn-based card battling combat system. So 4 more games have now made up Group D: Neverwinter, RuneScape 3, EverQuest 2, and Wizard 101, all running at the same time. older games sometimes lacked optimization, and you can see that turning EverQuest from maximum quality to good quality but also good performance. It has a substantial impact on resource usage. So that's Group D, but now another major roadblock, something I hadn't considered. I want to fish in each game at once, but not all of these games have fishing, so some will need to be replaced. And the ones that do have fishing, you can't always do it from the very start. You have to play a little bit until you unlock it. Now, playing one game to unlock fishing doesn't sound that bad. It takes an hour, maybe two. But I had to now play 16 MMORPGs to unlock fishing, which took way longer than I expected. A few of these games I had characters in already, so could access fishing pretty quickly. Old School RuneScape, RuneScape 3, The Elder Scrolls Online, and my New World character could all get there quite fast, but the other ones weren't so easy. Guild Wars 2 technically has fishing, but it's locked behind the End of Dragons expansion, and I don't have that expansion, so I just played the first opening hour of the game until I found a gathering skill. You need to finish the tutorial and then level up until the game gives you some gathering tools. I went for chopping a tree. It's kind of like fishing, but on land, and instead of a fishing rod, you use an axe, and instead of catching a fish, you kill a tree. Other than that, it's basically the same. The Elder Scrolls Online has fishing at almost any river or lake, but I got distracted by a Daedric Anchor event and stayed to fight some Dremora. A new character has to play the Cold Harbor tutorial, which will take about 45 minutes. Fishing in Final Fantasy XIV took way longer than I expected to start. Fisherman is an entire class in this game, and you can only change classes when you reach level 10 in your starting class. Now, the Fisherman trainer is in Limsa Lominsa, which means you have to either start a new character in Limsa and then grind your class quest until level 10, or if you start in one of the other two areas, you need to grind until level 15 where you unlock the quest to travel to Limsa Lominsa. Rushing the opening quest on a new character takes about 2 hours if you skip almost all the dialogue, and when you finally unlock fishing, your armor from your starting class doesn't transfer over, so you'll be standing there in your pants. Never change Final Fantasy XIV. World of Warcraft has a free trial up until level 20. New characters have to play through the Exile's Reach opening zone, which is actually a very good tutorial zone covering almost all the essential game mechanics and ending in a mini dungeon. It takes about an hour and a half to rush through, and when you arrive at your capital city, a guard can point you to the fishing trainer. I went Alliance, so we're fishing in the city river. Even though I already had a New World character, fishing needs you to accept a quest from this lady on the docks. That means getting to her. It's not a difficult run, it's just time consuming. It would take a new player about 45 minutes from character creation to reach this bit. Albion Online's opening section takes about 40 minutes to rush through, covers all the basics, and when you reach the mainland you still can't fish. You must buy a fishing rod and bait from the market. You could make one yourself, but buying one is way faster. Thankfully I had some coins from referring a friend, so could transfer them to silver and buy the rod. Lord of the Rings Online has an entire intro zone you need to finish before you can fish. Skipping all the dialogue and running from quest to quest, this takes about an hour, and you realise most of the opening is just running between two farms, fight some evil dudes, save a village, leave to the mainland, reach Bree and talk to the hobby trainer to unlock fishing, stand by a lake, done. Adventure Quest Worlds has fishing as its first trade skill. A new player needs to play through the opening, which takes about half an hour, and then in the main town you can just type /join fishing to be transported straight there. For my first attempt I catch a stick. Star Wars The Old Republic doesn't have fishing in almost any sense, so we'll leave that to the side for now and fix that problem later. Dungeons & Dragons Online is the same, and Path of Exile 2 is the same. Neverwinter technically does have fishing, but not until much later in the game in the Sea of Moving Ice, and a new player is weeks away from being able to access that map. EverQuest 2 does have fishing. Speedrun the opening tutorial. Thank God you can skip the island if you want to, then run out of the starting city, find a coastline, and fish. But this itself will be an issue soon. Wizard 101 also has fishing, but it unlocks at level 7, so speedrun the opening of the game, fight through Unicorn Way, beat up some ghosts, collect some cogs, play as a snake, and at level 7 meet this heron in the common area and stand on the side of the pond casting a magic fishing orb. Done. This leaves us with 5 games without easy access to fishing. Guild Wars 2, Star Wars The Old Republic, Path of Exile 2, Dungeons & Dragons Online, and Neverwinter. I think about the other MMORPGs I've played which I know have AFK experience. Life is Feudal has fishing, but that's become some hybrid crypto NFT game now. Mortal Online 1 has meditating experience for literally sitting down doing nothing, but it's abandoned and reviews keep complaining about email leaks. And Mortal Online 2, despite being a paid game, now has a subscription required, and I'm not paying that. So those easy solutions are gone. but I am not giving up. Neverwinter I can probably solve. I have an older account which should be able to access the fishing area, so I log out of my new character made for this vid and go to log into my older account, and you can't. It seems an update 3 years ago means if you play Neverwinter via Steam, the first login you use is now locked and you cannot change it. So to access my older character, I need to delete the game from Steam, re-download it via the Neverwinter independent site, and then log in via the Arc. This is stupid. Why did you make it like this? And then when I try to log in, it tells me to wait for an email code, which they just never send. Apparently this issue has been known about for literal years. I just need to hope the email actually comes through, otherwise I can't log into my old characters. I suppose we could say that this is fishing for customer support. Hey, Editing Josh here, quick update. After 24 hours, the Neverwinter email didn't arrive and the customer support request was never responded to, so the account I spent thousands of hours and hundreds of pounds on is apparently gone. Thanks, Cryptic. So instead, I decided to download Lost Ark, as I was told that had fishing, but I didn't know. You unlock fishing as a trade skill by progressing the main quest, and if you skip the prologue, you only need to finish 62 quests. Which I did, because I'm so deep into this stupid idea I refuse to quit. Speedrunning from a fresh character, you can reach fishing in just under 3 hours. I didn't read any story, I didn't upgrade anything, I didn't even die once. I just killed everything in my pursuit of fish. So when someone asks me if I played Lost Ark, the answer is technically yes, because I finished 62 main story quests, but also realistically no, because I have no idea what's going on. That leaves 4 games to fix. Star Wars: The Old Republic simply doesn't have any viable AFK experience gaining methods at low to mid levels, so I have to remove that from circulation and replace it with Black Desert Online. I speed through the opening of BDO, skipping literally all of the dialogue and not missing anything, and for once in my life being thankful a game has an autoplay feature. Rush the plot, pay no attention to the combat, and finally about an hour later reach the first major city and access fishing, which is horribly localized for PC and assumes you're using a controller. Right, fishing prepped, 3 more games to fix. Path of Exile 2, as much as I love you, you have no AFK experience gaining abilities at all. Thankfully, I found the perfect game to replace you with. Fishing Planet, an entire free MMO, literally about standing on the side of a lake with other real players and fishing. That leaves us with 2 games, Guild Wars 2 and Dungeons & Dragons Online. Of these, Guild Wars 2 technically does have fishing, it's just locked behind a paid expansion, so I bite the bullet, get the expansion, and speed run to the fishing quest. Every time you buy an expansion with Guild Wars 2, you also get a maximum level boost, so speed running through isn't too difficult. It also gives you a mount, which is nice, but telling a brand new player, hey, you can't fish until you drop $30 on the game is a bit upsetting. I love your Guild Wars 2, but come on. This only leaves Dungeons & Dragons Online without fishing. I guess if every other MMO is earning fishing experience, this can be the one window I actively play. Still counts as being efficient. This only leaves 3 problems to now fix. The first is how some game windows lock the mouse cursor to that window while playing, so you need to unlock the cursor by pressing escape to open a menu or the Windows key. But doing this would also break any animation or action you're taking in the game, so I can't click to fish and then leave the window, because that would stop fishing. I'll solve this problem on a game-by-game basis. Problem 2 is matching up the timings. I don't want to click through these games and gain fishing experience one after the other. I want to see all the games fishing at the same time. Now, some games like RuneScape have a long fishing animation. Some are much shorter. For example, the fishing animation in EverQuest 2 is 7 seconds long. That was the issue I mentioned we'd run into earlier. This means if I start with EverQuest, the fishing would have finished before I've clicked through all the other games. To this end, I have gone through and made a list of how long the fishing animation lasts in every game. And in theory, if I order the game windows from longest animation to shortest, I should be able to click through them all and end up with, even if only for 1 or 2 seconds, a moment of simultaneous 16-game fishing. At least in theory. In practice, I have no idea if this will work or not. Which brings up the next problem. I have tested these games in groups of 4. But I have no idea if it's actually possible to run all 16 games with resized active windows at the same time while also running the screen recording software on the same computer. The only way to know is to try it, so good luck, Overclockers UK. Let's do this. Can we run 16 MMORPGs at the same time and gain experience in all of them at once? Let's find out. I'm going to launch each game one at a time and track the resource usage. Here's the desktop with nothing running other than the recording software and all 4 monitors. That's our baseline. Launching old school RuneScape, CPU actually drops down to 5%. That's how efficient RuneScape is. It adds resources. RAM goes to 17, graphics card to 9. Adventure Quest World, CPU drops to 4%. How is launching games using less CPU? You know what, CPU? You don't know what's going on. I'm not going to care about you. RAM is at 18, graphics card at 10. Albion Online, here we go. 14% CPU usage, RAM to 22, GPU to 20. Steady increases, but we're doing okay so far. Wizard 101 takes the CPU usage down to 13%. What's happening, CPU? Are you not taking this seriously? At least the RAM is. That's gone to 24%. Graphics card down to 19. The graphics card only really gets involved when a game is in focus or really needs it. Right, let's make some progress. Elder Scrolls Online. CPU to 17, RAM to 29, graphics card to 23. That's better. Bit of power being used. Everything still smooth and stable. New World takes us to CPU 28, RAM to 40. That's 11% increase. The biggest single jump yet. GPU up to 30. New World does look lovely, to be fair. Lord of the Rings Online, RAM increased to 44%, total GPU to 28%. I think the bottleneck is going to be the RAM. We're almost at half usage and still have some powerful games left. I also need to make sure not to launch any Google Chrome windows and to deactivate Discord while doing this, because they, while small, will still take up some RAM usage. Guild Wars 2 is remarkably optimized and holds the CPU steady at 28%, taking the total RAM usage to 49 and the GPU to 31. Smooth sailing so far. World of Warcraft has a bit of a spike during the BattleNet launcher, but stabilizes at 55% RAM. Very optimized program. I do drop the graphics down just to be safe, give us some leeway. EverQuest 2 is the first stumble. Not for the PC, that's doing fine, but for when I go to log in, I'm warned I can't because they have detected suspicious activity on my account. I mean, yeah, I played once and rushed to fishing, then just stood there for several hours. That is fair. So I add in 2-factor authentication and it launches fine. CPU's on 34%, RAM to 59. Now for some resource drain. Black Desert Online, even on low graphics, takes the RAM up to 68%. The GPU does drop though, which is nice. Fishing Planet next. This thing only uses 3% more total RAM for 71%. Graphics card on 45. CPU is 61%, but that varies and doesn't seem to be struggling. All these games are being read from the same SSD at the same time, and the disk read speed is 0%. This machine was built for both gaming and editing, and the transfer speeds laugh at my paltry simple gaming. Another substantial jump with Lost Ark. CPU to 66 and RAM is now up to 80. GPU has gone to 43. Not noticing any slowdown, but 80% RAM is making me sweat a little bit. I'm not sure if we'll hit 16 games. RuneScape 3 isn't as lightweight as its old school counterpart and takes us up to 82% RAM and 48% GPU. Also puts the CPU onto 69%, which is nice. Dungeons & Dragons Online is the penultimate game and takes us to 70% CPU, 85% RAM and 46% graphics card. The RAM is definitely going to be the one to watch. I've only got one more game to launch and that game is Final Fantasy XIV. I know it's a demanding game, so I saved it for last. As long as it needs less than 15% RAM, we'll be okay. So I cross my fingers, go to launch it, and god damn it, Square Enix, of all the times to have maintenance! Why? Why now? Okay, fine, I'll wait 3 hours. In fact, this is helpful because launching all these games has made me realize another quite large problem. All these games have fishing, but they all do fishing in a different way. Some are click and wait, like RuneScape. Others need you to switch to fishing stance and then use an ability, like Black Desert Online. Others need you to hold left click to cast a rod, like Albion Online. Others, like the Elder Scrolls Online, need you to press a button, but you must be at a fishing spot and they can move often. So not only will I need to time the fishing to start across all the games, I'll need to remember how to fish in each game. So I make a new spreadsheet showing the updated times of fishing animations plus how to fish and additional information such as which games will lock the cursor and must be Alt-tabbed or Windows keyed away from to free the cursor without breaking the animation. And this brings another issue. EverQuest 2, again, it's just too short. Even if I am able to click, then unlock the cursor, activate another game, the animation will have finished before the other game can be realistically played. I want at least 5 seconds of all games running efficiently. So EverQuest 2 is out. I need another game. So I download and speedrun Brighter Shores. I don't know if this has fishing, but it's from the same guy who made RuneScape, so it will have fishing. I speedrun the tutorial. In 25 minutes, I reach fishing. I click, expecting it to slowly fish like RuneScape, and nope, it's super fast per click. It's actually faster than EverQuest 2. This hasn't solved the problem. If anything, it's made it worse. So is there a way to AFK fish in Brighter Shores? Turns out yes. The first thing you need to do is grind to level 20 fishing, which unlocks AFK rod fishing. Fine, I'm too deep into this video to stop. Time to grind to 20 fishing. How long could this take? An hour. It takes an hour. But finally, AFK fishing is unlocked. And with this, I can make a new final list of all the fishing animation timings, which gives us the fishing chart. Now to break this chart down into 4 groups of 4, and then arrange each group on 1 or more monitors so I can click across the games in order of longest animation to shortest. First, the easy group. Guild Wars 2, Brighter Shores, Black Desert Online, and Fishing Planet all have ways of fishing with no timers, or they take over a minute to cancel the animation, so they'll be the first to be activated. I can put most of these across the top of the screen, so I don't need to click them once they're set. The next group of games don't have unlimited animations but are still long. Wizard 101, Albion Online, Old School RuneScape, and RuneScape 3. They have between 30 to 40 second fishing animations start to finish. This should be a decent amount of time to match all these up. The second hardest group will be the Lord of the Rings Online, World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, and Lost Ark, with a 28 second animation for Lord of the Rings and a 17 second fishing animation for Lost Ark, plus having to find a fishing spot in the Elder Scrolls Online, and those fishing spots can die at any time. The final group of games has the shortest timing. New World's fishing animation is 13 seconds, Final Fantasy XIV is between 10 to 12, and Adventure Quest Worlds at only 8. Then, once every game is fishing, I cursor over Dungeons & Dragons Online and enjoy the most efficient 7 seconds of gameplay I will ever have, at least in theory. Now, I'm sure there will still be people who say I'm splicing this together, using multiple PCs or editing the game footage to match the timings of this challenge, so I've taken this video on my phone of all 16 games running at the same time. There's the Resource Manager capping out at 91% RAM usage, and there's the PC overclockers made. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm trying to test this machine. So let's finally do this. First up, load up 16 games and hope the PC can handle it. This will be the first time they've all been running together. I position them in the order of easiest to click on based on fishing timings, but I do discover you cannot log into your RuneScape 3 and Old School RuneScape with the same account at the same time. Not a problem, I'll just use the account I used for the 100 hours in RuneScape 3 video. Surely this won't be an issue. Spoiler, it will be an issue, for 2 reasons. The first is logging into my older account opened a Google Chrome window with a welcome back message, but I didn't want to open Chrome because I didn't want the RAM doing even more stuff, but I guess we'll leave it and see if it can handle it. The second problem we'll see soon. With the OBS recording software, an unexpected Chrome window, and all 16 games running, we're up to 56.5 gigabytes of RAM being accessed. That's 92% total usage, but nothing is slowing down. 77% CPU load and only 51% on the graphics card, so things run. But now it's time to actually fish. To make it easier to see, I'll add this green tick over the game footage when each game is fishing. If we have every game ticked at the same time and I can play Dungeons & Dragons Online, we win. I set the first few up: Fishing Planet, Black Desert, Brighter Shores, Guild Wars 2. These would fish until I got kicked for inactivity, nothing to worry about here. Cast the line in Albion Online, then I cast the fishing spell in Wizard 101. Click the spot in Old School RuneScape and RuneScape 3, and this is where I missed something. That character in RuneScape 3 isn't high enough to fish there. But I didn't see that failed text box message and just kept going. I clicked Lord of the Rings Online, Warcraft, Elder Scrolls, Lost Ark, but another mistake. I forgot to press B to switch to trade skill mode in Lost Ark, so my E press didn't fish but just bombs the lake. I cast off in New World, then Final Fantasy XIV, and finally fish in Adventure Quest Worlds before trying to play Dungeons & Dragons Online. I look around and realize I am 2 games short. But I've only got 1 more piece of bait in Adventure Quest Worlds, so I've got 1 more chance at doing all of this until I need to grind Adventure Quest Worlds to get more bait to try again. So I repositioned my RuneScape 3 character to do net fishing on the shrimp, the most basic thing you can do, and then with 1 bait left in Adventure Quest, I click through as fast as I can, and this is how it goes. Fishing Planet, Black Desert Online, Guild Wars 2, Brighter Shores, all set. I've managed to get Albion Online to permanently fish by casting behind a log, and RuneScape 3 is fishing shrimp slowly. Cast the fishing spell in Wizard 101. Click Old School RuneScape. Cast Lord of the Rings. Cast World of Warcraft. Cast Elder Scrolls. Switch to trade skills and cast in Lost Ark. Then a misclick on Adventure Quest, but I can save this, no problem. Cast in New World, cast Final Fantasy, click to play Dungeons & Dragons Online, and that's it. That moment right there. These 5 seconds are the most efficient MMORPG gameplay in history. 16 MMOs being played at the same time on the same PC, 15 of them fishing, 1 of them actually being played, days of setup, and charts of data, all to organize this glorious 5 seconds of absolute peak efficiency. And my god, the overclocker's PC actually handled it. Not just the games, but the recording software and the unexpected Chrome window, and it smashed the editing and rendering of this video afterwards too. I'll be honest, I did not expect it to make all 16 games at once. But Overclockers UK aren't messing around, and they built an absolute beast. So there we have it. If you're ever worried you're not being efficient in MMORPGs, just remember, all you need to do is take 3 days worth of setup time for the most efficient 5 seconds of gameplay you can possibly have. But if you're not crazy enough to try this and just want to play whatever MMORPG game you enjoy in the way you enjoy it most, check out the stuff at Overclockers UK and drop them an email about building a rig. Tell them I sent you. I don't get anything if you do, I just want them to know you've watched this stupid video. And as usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep me making videos. Check the description for links to Overclockers UK, the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, Insta, and Discord. And as always, have an efficiently great day.
Josh, we cut, Josh!